God, I hate that name. Um, we're here with Palm Top Tyrant, Cross
Hi.
Star, and Historical
We're here
Man.
with Palm Top
I
Tyrant.
love that name, by the way, Kai.
Cross
I love that
Star,
name because I was
and
the one who came up
Historical
with it.
Man.
I love that name, by the way, Kai. I love that.
Yeah,
You know,
thank
he,
you.
he just thought about it. Came to him while he was eating cereal
Uh,
that morning. He's like, you know what's
you-
a name for a damn good podcast? Ah, the Pogcast. Let's fucking go.
I walked up to him that morning. He was like sleeping. He was like, I woke him up in the middle of the night. I'm like, Kaiju, I found a great podcast name. It's the podcast.
You must
You sound oddly like Vince McMahon when you talk like that. I'm just saying.
I am Vince McMahon.
God, that's
some
awful.
good shit.
That is awful. So, how is everyone doing today?
I've been fine. I just got my PC set up, so that's nice.
Right.
Oh, dude, finally, by the way. I mean, like, it was weird to me that your PC took at least, like, an extra vacation on the way to, like, your new place.
Yeah, it's because a hurricane came into the port. It was supposed to be, so I had to redirect.
Oh my gosh.
A
Classic
Pacific
hurricanes.
Rim kaiju came in.
Oh no! My PC survived.
Yeah,
You know why? Because of that coastal wall.
Oh yeah.
fucking
It works.
You
The
got-
coastal wall works.
you goddamn wall apologist.
I've seen the movie, and I remember the scene. They went like, the wall's gonna work, and then it worked, and then the credits rolled, and I was sitting there going, wow, another masterpiece by Guillermo del Toro.
Another masterpiece.
Amazing. I love that man so much.
He starts clapping.
Oh, speaking of Guillermo del Toro, though, he's supposed to be collaborating with Kojima and actually successfully getting the project off the ground this time.
Wait, really?
Didn't he already with
Again?
Death Stranding?
Yeah, he was in Death Stranding.
Oh.
Like, there's supposed to be some horror thing between him, Kojima, and some Junji Ito.
Oh, yeah. Now I remember that. Yeah. Well, I think
Definitely.
I think that was sort of the dream team behind Silent Hills, if I recall. It was Junji Ito was also involved in that, I believe, or supposed to be involved.
He was supposed to be. He was supposed to be. I think.
It
Norman
seems like,
Reedus was supposed to spearhead it, like with the acting, of course. You know, his
yeah,
model being in the game.
and
But
so they likely reused a lot of that for Death Stranding because he was the main character there. So was Guillermo del Toro. He played Deadman. Junji Ito also made a cameo in that game. Actually, he's the engineer, if I recall correctly.
no shit.
Yeah. No, there's a ton of them. I think Conan O'Brien's in the game. He plays
Yeah,
as
he
an
is.
otter fanboy. Like, a lot of characters are partly, like...
Based on who they are?
No, not based on who they are, but just, like, a lot of the sort of... I forget what they're called specifically in-game, but just the people who live in, like, hunkered down little areas of their own. A lot of them are cameo appearances.
Okay. That's a fun way to do it too, to like actually like show a little love for them.
And it kind of gives like a little incentive once you know that's how it works, you know? Because then you're kind of like wondering who you're going to find.
Right.
I mean, it's just fun to find, like, not even necessarily for the cameo, just because there's such a massive cast of characters that go to just represent, like, a lot going on in the whole Death Stranding idea and world. It's pretty cool. I like the game. It's great.
I mean,
actually, that's something I was curious about. Could you tell what is actually the main plot behind Death Stranding? How spell it out for me? Because I looked at the game. I've seen a lot for the game, and I'm like, what am I
Okay.
seeing here?
Without any
18.
without any meta commentary on metaphor, symbolism, and all of that.
Okay.
The game's basic premise is you play as a porter, Sam Bridges, going around connecting everything up to this thing called the Chiral Network, which is basically the internet but better, in order to start rebuilding America, which was destroyed, along with pretty much most of the other world in terms of civilization, with the incident that was the Death Stranding.
Okay. So it's
That's the basic rundown premise of the game. Delivery man treks across America, connecting things to the internet to start rebuilding civilization.
Okay, that's a good grabber, at least for the story, and it's it takes place after a big event, so you can sort of find like lore and stuff, right? At least I
Yeah,
assume.
it takes place. I'm not sure how long after the Death Stranding because everyone's pretty cozied up. I think it's got to be after a significant amount of time because you get to a guy called the Elder,
Hmm.
who he, as far as I'm aware, canonically he's the only one. Without spoilers, he's canonically the only one to have any recollection of the world before the Death Stranding. And he's like in his like 80s or 90s, so it would have been a good long while. There's probably like a specific date because that's just the kind of fucking thing Kojima does. Um, but I can't remember it off the top of my head.
I mean, honestly,
Knowing Kojima, the date's gonna like play up on the screen. You're gonna find out it's the sequel to like Metal Gear Solid 4.
Never.
God,
Um,
the
you find
entire
references.
scene with Konami was just you know a little bit of a mock up so they could build up hype.
I guess there's also like the subplot is that you're trying to stop a I believe he's a I think they're referred to in Death Stranding as Homo demons. Um, you're trying to stop a specific like the leader of the Homo demons, Higgs, played by, of course, Troy Baker. Um, since that man will never die truly, and uh, we just desperately require him in video games at all. Uh, so he's a sort of leader, and he's got a great intro where he like ascends or like descends or whatever, and he just goes, he introduces himself, and he goes like, "My name is Higgs, like the particle of God that permeates existence."
A very
Oh,
interesting way to
it's
put it.
pretty. Yeah, I mean, because a lot of the thing in if I can go on a bit of a tangent with Death Stranding here is names play a big part, not just what they say, but what they mean. For example, there's one character who. Do you guys mind spoilers? I don't know if you guys want to play this
I
game
doubt we
desperately.
do.
I'll try. I will try my best to keep it as spoiler free as possible. Um, where there's, for example, there's of course there's Bridges, which is a last name. Strand, also a last name. Some characters share these names. And then, for example, there's one main character later called Clifford Unger, and one line that he has is when he's referring to his own past, his own history. He talks about how he's constantly seemed to always be an obstacle to other people, and he's never been able to truly build anything with his life. He's never been able to create anything, and thus he refers to himself as an obstacle, nothing but a cliff.
Hmm.
Just names have a lot of meaning in this game. Just any Die Hard Man, uh, Dead Man, and Heartman. All names that then relate very deeply to their characters.
I mean, honestly, I do enjoy it when games and other types of media try to sneak in little tiny details of meaning into just about everything they can, or just small things that you wouldn't really notice.
Oh no, they this is not sneaking in. This is like he will
It's
straight
very
up.
blunt about it, then.
It's very blunt about it.
Okay.
Not
Okay.
so much in a negative sense of the word, but well, I mean, it essentially it works to constantly force you to think about what your name is and what this is supposed to represent as you're playing the game. The game does its best, and I think pretty effectively, to try to explain its core themes in a way that's interesting and doesn't try it not to totally explain them, but to give you an understanding of what it's trying to do, so that you can, even if you're not familiar with this kind of way of approaching games, you can start to tag along and start to look at it thematically as opposed to, you know, and there's nothing wrong with it. I want to say there's nothing wrong with what I'm about to say, as opposed to say like playing Call of Duty Warzone or whatever, where it's not necessarily about a theme or a story or anything like that. It's just a good game. It's just there to have fun with. So if you're more used to that sort of like just sort of turn your brain off kind of play things, like this game does try to like string you along.
I think that's something that Kojima does really well, by the way. Like he wants you to think, but he wants the story to naturally start pulling you in as things keep going. Without definitely leaning into it too much. Metal Gear Solid, like 2 in particular. I mean, you can play it like it's just like, you know, your basic point A to point B, bang bang shoot shoot kind of game. But if you start really paying attention to the narrative that's like being woven in the background, his kind of storytelling will make you curious about what's going on. It'll make you curious about what's truly happening.
Oh yeah, so much stuff just sort of goes on in Death Stranding that like, as much as you want to sort of like try to like if you have any interest in the game whatsoever, it's going to drag you in because it's so interesting. The game is it's just so cool. I love it, and I know that that's not a lot of people played it and a lot of people don't like it, and I understand that completely. You know, it is a walking simulator for the most, well, delivery simulator really for the most part.
Hey,
Um,
order pizza, loser.
hey, actually the pizza segments are great. The pizza segments are fucking great, actually though.
Please tell me you can play the pizza theme, the Pizza Man theme. Come on.
From Spider-Man.
Spider-Man 2.
Yes, yes, that'll make it infinitely more enjoyable.
You can play on your phone. You can play. You can play
You
on
can
your
play
phone.
on your
Like.
Maybe there's a way to import music into the game because music is a huge part. Community is a huge part in the game because a lot of the point is that you, as you play it and
You
connect things to the
rebuild
chiral
stuff, right?
network, yeah, not only do you rebuild stuff, but once you connect an area to the chiral network, you get access to all the online features. So things other players have built. There was amazing segments where I would be playing it, connect something to the chiral network, and I would see the bits and pieces of people starting to form. You know, there'd be like a zip line that maybe goes only halfway up the mountain. So then what I do as a player is like, well, I need to go all the way to the top. Clearly this other player ran out of either resources or whatever. So what am I going to do? I'm going to build my own thing, take these two separate zip lines that other players have created, use them, climb up then to the top, and hook it up. I have had daisy chains of zip lines created by other players that scaled mountains. So that instead of it being this, you know, where you have to go either around or take the risk of trekking through the mountains, you know, a more direct and faster route, but risky in terms of scaling, it's just now it's just okay, you've connected it, and now everyone's working together because one, you know, before this mountain, you know, would have taken you 15 minutes or whatever to scale. Now it's like instant. It's a minute max because you're zipping along all these things created by tons of other people. You know, one of the major things is that a road starts getting built and it takes massive amounts of materials to get these roads built. None that you can probably do it on yourself, but it would take forever. So the point is that people, the community itself is constantly donating to these roads. It's constantly working together in ways you can't and that's why in ways you can't fully connect, because the whole point is it's this implied connection, much like how a society operates. You know, when I do something good or whatever at large, it's not a direct, you know, if I help a friend or whatever, but like in terms of building a society, you have to have that imagined community. That's why there's no direct multiplayer where you're playing side by side. It's all this sort of indirect stuff because you're not, you know, when you build a society, you're not going to see every single person. You have to have this imagined community to think, I am still with this guy who I don't know 200 kilometers the other direction, but we're still the same community. And so I've got to do something to support him, even though you'll never meet.
That's actually an interesting way to do multiplayer, in my opinion.
It
A very interesting way.
yeah, it especially drives
That
home the
reminds me of,
message too.
Journey.
Yeah.
Journey, actually. And,
Mm.
like you're playing with other people, but you can't say anything directly. But there's kind of like this. I don't want to call it a social contract. It's a little too heavy for what it actually is. But like you're helping each other out through your own type of play style because it just makes it easier on both of you.
Hmm.
Every time I hear like you're not that somewhat on like a small level, it also reminds me somewhat of the what's that one game called No Man's Sky? You know, the one that was bad but then became really good.
Yeah. God bless those devs,
Mhm.
by
I
the way.
mean, I
God
wouldn't
bless those
say it was
devs.
very good from the beginning, but no,
Fucking
no,
hipster.
I love that game. I love No Man's Sky.
I like the devs behind it too. Their work ethic, what they did
Oh, the
was
devs are great. Yeah,
commendable. That was
100%,
commendable.
100% commendable.
And but it's just the fact that you can have this massively online game and you can see the effects other players had, but it's not like the world like do servers regenerate in No Man's Sky? It's been a while since I played it.
Does what regenerate in No Man's
There's
Sky?
Servers.
like landscapes, so they like restart.
Uh, well, when you say you go to a planet and like destroy like a landscape or whatever, if somebody else goes to that planet, they're not going to see it. The only things that would be shared is your player bases.
Ah, okay. I
Hmm.
just like the games with the idea that you can see the after effects of what other players have done. So it's like you're exploring like a ruin or something, and you realize it's like Minecraft and like it's like how Griefer like you could find like what's that? Like you go on like an anarchy server or something in Minecraft,
2B2T.
you see the 2B2T, and you see the ruins of like some great structure. That's what it reminds me of. I like that a lot
It is really cool.
because
It's like disconnected multiplayer, as I like to put it.
yeah, disconnected multiplayer is like 2B2T isn't a good example because you can make friends on it, but it's still like
It
you
would
could still see
it would
what
be
other
like
players have done.
yeah, it would be like if you played 2B2T um like after the server's been plugged, like unplugged.
Yeah,
Hmm.
it's just fast, or just there's 2B2T, but like no one's there anymore.
Mm.
It's just fascinating.
I guess like a smaller example, though not as extreme, would be the different Dark Souls games with like the messages that people put, or like the
Yeah,
little red spirits and blood stains that you can see, because you can kind of see like events that have already happened here in another person's playthrough, but you kind of have to piece it together yourself, you know?
Kaiju, you just triggered the hell out of me because I've read so many messages by cliffs of like treasure below, and I just remember rolling off cliffs like, all right, let's
Oh
go.
yeah.
That
Well,
let's
yeah.
yeah,
go.
that's
That is
funny.
annoying.
Jumps up and
People
fucking
tend to
splats.
just mess you over. Yeah.
Or
Although
or
that's
even
part of
worse,
the charm.
you go to a
Yeah.
message and it's like fake wall ahead. Okay, ding, fucking asshole.
Ding.
Or you go to it and it's just like the classic is just tongue butt hole.
Yeah, and it's always in front of a female NPC, so you're not sure how to feel.
I've never I've seen a couple of times where it's just randomly strewn about. I think my favorite is in Dark Souls 2. There's this door you can open that's a dead end, but you just open it and there's just a skeleton in the wall, and all the messages in front of it just read "Go skeleton." They're just all like being like really supportive of this skeleton. It's just like "Go skeleton, hooray for skeleton," you know.
You
That's
got
wholesome in its own way.
that's
Let's go,
wholesome.
Bone Warrior.
Let's go bone boy. That closet is the bone zone though.
Yeah, that's where Mr.
Just
Bones leads you to the wild ride. Don't go into it. It will never end.
it'll never end.
I think that's somewhat of a newer idea, but I don't think it's a negative one, but at all though. Just seeing what other players do throughout different games or their different playthroughs, that's somewhat of a fascinating thing, and you know it makes the world feel more fleshed out.
It also makes it feel, immersive because like you can see what these other players have done in their adventures.
Mm-hmm.
It's like
Go ahead.
it's interesting. It's
Yeah.
just fascinating to me because there's that one YouTube channel, what's his name, who does like lore vids on 2b2t, and just reading it is fascinating in
Oh
itself.
yeah, I've seen those. They're
Fit MC.
pretty. Yeah.
It's just they're amazing because like you could walk into 2b2t not knowing anything, and it's just see these ruins everywhere, and it's fascinating because like who the fuck built this? Sure, some have been griefed into literal oblivion.
But
Others,
then again, we can only say this: that is at least somewhat accurate to what people do, right?
uh, well, I mean, in real life, they did destroy like cities in revenge, but most of the time, they mostly just sacked the shit out of them
Yeah,
and not destroy
I,
them completely, because
yeah,
destroying it completely means that that city's not going to be there anymore,
Yeah,
and
Yeah.
it's
and
just like
it
you'd have to spend like resources
well,
remaking it.
I'm just saying
yeah,
that over time, stuff gets destroyed, or be it by either people or just by the land
Oh, you mean
itself.
like yeah, natural.
Yes, stuff naturally happens.
Well, sometimes you have the Library of Alexandria, and then sometimes you have scorched
Library.
earth policy.
Nobody's
You
ever
you
going to ever forgive
well,
what happened to the Library of Alexandria.
you just gave me PTSD flashbacks, dude. You made me sad.
Hey,
Every historian, you just say the Library of Alexandria in front of them, and they just cry. It's actually a power move. I actually walked into my university's history department, dead center in the middle of a meeting, and I just went, "So how's the Library of Alexandria doing?" Walked out.
you could
I
hear them
could hear the
crying.
sobs as I exited the building.
I knew it. I knew it.
What? I had a zone out for a bit.
It's fine. No, it's fine. You didn't hear about it.
He was
I'm
having a
gonna rewatch the
PTSD
podcast.
flashback.
I'm gonna rewatch the podcast. You're like, then just slaughter you in DMs.
He,
Oh
he,
yeah, slaughter me in DMs. Yeah, you're not gonna be crying. No.
Historical with tears in his eyes, like
Just
I'm not
like,
mad. I'm not
I'm
mad at
not
all.
mad. I'm not mad that the Library of Alexandria burned down. You are.
speaking of
I'm not angry.
guys,
You're angry.
speaking of tears though, or stuff that's made you cry, how many like recent games have actually moved you to the point where you actually either feel sad or you want to cry?
Oh, that's a good one. That is.
Oh, one game. You know what? I've been
Okay.
crying quite a bit playing Final Fantasy 14. There's a lot of really
Oh,
beautiful stories and shit that goes on in that.
Kai,
let's see. Yeah.
is crying tears of anger count?
If that's the case, then I know what game you're going to talk about.
Darkest Dungeon?
Yeah, and you did not just cry tears of anger, you ascended anger.
I lost my entire party that time, okay?
Yeah,
I had built them up from scratch, and just seeing them be ruined in front of me made me mad, okay?
I heard a man's spirit break. But for me personally, when it comes to like games that have made me cry, just like in general, I have to say Ghost of Tsushima. Like holy
Game
I've
over.
I've not
crap,
played
that
it.
game moved me. Holy crap. Like
I'm planning on getting that game.
you should, and I'm going to try my best to avoid spoilers, even though it's been out for a while. But
Been a
man,
while. It's been out for like what, a week?
yeah,
Not a
Me
week.
too.
it's been
2 to
more
3
than a
weeks.
week. Yeah, I want to
It's
say
also one of the
3 weeks.
best-selling
July
games on PS4.
17th. It's been out for it's been out for 3 weeks.
Yeah, but I'm still going to try to avoid spoilers. But even the first half of that story starts, getting you hooked emotionally, and I really appreciate it when stories do that because usually when something bad does happen, it causes you to actually care about what's happening. Because when you're playing, I hate to mention Call of Duty because I know people enjoy those games, but say you're playing the story and say it's one of the newer Call of Duty games and one of your buddies gets shot, you don't feel as invested because it hasn't done a good job hooking you, if that makes any sense.
The character investment's not there yet, like in a
Yeah,
Call of Duty game. But in Ghost of Tsushima, you're saying that there's like, a lot of like investment into getting to know these
yeah,
characters, so you care about them more.
you really get to know these people, and through all of their flaws and upsides, you understand that they're people, and you really don't want to say anything bad happen to them, despite the fact that this is a stressful situation and bad things are bound to happen. And when that stuff does happen, it causes you to either feel angry, sad, or just sympathetic, you know, depending on who it may be.
Right. Like if you get attached to this one character you've been palling around with the entire time, and then you just see them take like a blade to the back, you're gonna be like, no.
Yeah, and,
Scream.
and the thing that Ghost of Tsushima does really well is it not only hooks you with like big moments, but it does something very important, which is small things. So, like for example, this is the only this is probably going to be one of the only spoilers I'm going to say, but you're with this sensei guy, this very old, battle hardened guy, and he tells you to, climb up a mountain so you can get up to the road. So, you listen to his orders. You climb up the road so you can get to the other side, and he's standing there already, and you're really confused. So then you turn around and say that there was a road that just circled around and he just walked. And then when you go up to confront him about it, he's like, "Yeah, I said you had to climb. I didn't have to." Just small stuff like that gets you more invested. You know.
Cheeky little guy, Annie.
Mm-hmm.
Chad, 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 Chad.
And
Well,
Chad.
in terms of training, being a sensei myself. No, I'm kidding. But if you
You
saw,
said
I've
that
already
you
done
are
this before.
terrible.
anger.
You are a terrible
Having
sensei.
trained many a samurai.
You know what ended the samurai? Gun. You know what I'm gonna do to you?
No,
Gun.
he has a gun.
No, Mr. Obama, get down.
Mrs. Obama, get down.
See, you're like, I'm gonna use my gun, but what you fail to understand is I'll just deflect the bullet.
And then I shoot again, then he can't stop the
And
bullet.
then I deflect that one.
And then I get two guns.
I don't understand. You just keep adding more bullets. I'm just gonna keep deflecting them. Like, I don't know.
and then he unveils his second blade, and then he does the blade spin as he slowly walks towards you.
And then I unveil my sword, and then we get into an epic fight.
No, you can't use a sword. You have a gun. You're a gun man.
You're a gun man.
You can't be
I'm-
by weapon.
Pull out another
Okay,
gun. That's what
No,
you need to do.
I'm gonna give the gun to my brother, and then we're just gonna point guns at him and say jackpot. You can't stop that. You can't
Okay.
stop that.
Okay, knowing that this is cross, he'll probably get into an orgasmic bliss once you say jackpot, and that'll be enough for you to hit him.
Yeah, we'll
Yeah,
just
you
shoot him.
stuffed it with sick references.
Sick references.
Honestly, just quote the entire ending of DMC or okay, Devil May Cry
Yeah.
5. I gotta make sure that there's that distinction.
Oh yeah. We're not talking about the was it the remake, the shitty remake,
It
or was something else?
it was a remake DMC.
Okay,
We
okay.
don't talk about that.
No.
here.
No. We can talk about that.
Oh, okay.
No, that's very
Wait. I
fine,
want to hear Paul Mancross's opinions on DMC actually.
All right, so let me play devil's advocate for 2 seconds. For what it was, I think that Devil May Cry remake, which was like 2016, 2015,
I want
somewhere
to say
around there.
2014.
I'll quickly just give it a fat
Yeah.
Google.
Maybe it was earlier.
I want to say 2013 or 2012.
It would be 2013.
Okay.
January 15th, 2013.
The thing I think was the biggest problem was the actual director. He was so up in everyone's face about like his Dante being the better Dante. Like I
Yeah.
know his name better than I know the game, which was Tamim Anatones or whatever the hell. And it was just because he was so arrogant that his Dante was better than the old Dante.
Yeah, no. I remember there was you can find a video footage of this, and the two best friends talked about it, or super best friends. Well, they're disbanded now. Anyway, talked about it. He had a segment like where he was talking about the philosophy of the game design, and it was just, we want to make it Western cool. So this is cool, and he would like show like a picture of like some dude with anorexia smoking, but like, this isn't cool, and it'd be like literally just a picture of like a bunch of cosplayers he took off of Google Images. And then he was like, this is cool. It was a picture of his Dante. This is not cool. And it's like a picture of DMC4 Dante with a cowboy hat on, with like digitally placed into a scene from Brokeback Mountain, where it's just like, hey guys, my character's cool, unlike these gay cowboy
It's like,
DMC.
shut the fuck up. No one cares.
It's just like don't focus on the Uncle Dante. We all miss. See, all he had to do was just not talk about the other Devil May Cries, and like the original design that he had for I know you like the game, Cross, but I gotta still trash on him. Dante. Just as the
Dante.
distinction. The
I
original design for Dante was actually really sick. In fact, I vibed with it because I was still in the middle of my edgy phase, and I was like,
Must be
okay,
older.
this looks really dark. This looks kind of like grittier than like my old Uncle Dante, who would just kind of like laughs off everything as a joke. I think this has potential, and you know what? I even gave it a fair shake. You know, I played the game and I played with people who were very much so, well, this game is already trash, yada yada yada. Like I was surrounded by people that were like that while I was trying out the game itself, and I was like, this really ain't that bad. It's
no,
like, oh good.
no. You continue. You continue.
I like it's really not that bad. I think the controls were, I think like the only thing I absolutely despised about the game was actually the camera. Like the camera and the lock on were like massively downgraded compared to the other two, but I think they fixed that up in an update even, like
Definitive
or like
edition, yeah.
definitive edition.
Well, they basically the definitive edition actually to give the definitive edition not credit but to give an explanation. They actually just got Devil who Devil May Cry 5. Who was the director for that? It was Itsuno.
Yeah,
Hideaki Itsuno. Um, they brought him onto the team to fix the thing up, and that was the definitive edition. So he switched up, like he fixed like a lot of minor things with the game. Like he didn't do anything too crazy, but like he fixed the camera, lock on. I think he added a lock on. Lock on didn't exist in the original.
that's right. That's right.
And
The
he
style system too.
and the style
Yeah,
system, so that would be it would be less like dumb. And also one of the major changes was that, in my opinion, was the color. You know, like there was color coded enemies. There was like demon and angel coded enemies. Where it's like, hey, if you have a demon weapon, or sorry, if you've got a red guy, you have to hit him with a demon weapon. Originally, in the base game, if you hit them with the wrong weapon, you would bounce off, and this would like cost you time, put you in a stun state, all this stuff. And then in the definitive edition, if you hit them, you're no longer being knocked off into the stun state. You just have like significantly reduced damage, and I think maybe your weapon goes through them a bit slower, but it isn't nearly as punishing.
right. And like something like that, like the deflect. I remember that actually in particular. I was just like, this is so jarring, and especially in the middle of combat, and I think you were at least in like a full second of like hit stun or like I
Probably,
guess,
yeah.
and you're just sitting there and like then you get surrounded by everybody like, all right, well, I don't mind taking these hits. This it's not as punishing, I guess, as like I would say a normal DMC game, but at the same time, like when you're in a crowd of these guys, especially when they're multicolored, like here's red, here's blue, and I'm trying to like go back and forth. Ooh, that's kind of annoying,
That
especially when one
that
decides to
sounds like
body
it's
block
tough
another.
ass.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Although I'm gonna commit heresy and say I've never played that game, so
That's fine. Yeah, it's fine. No, I think the biggest issue with it was the fact that it is a game all about style and combos and doing interesting things. And the core issue with the color coded enemies is it limits
Creativity.
it limits you to 1/3. If you include the guns, 1/4 ish of your total weapon set. Like of total weapons, you go from, let's see, you've got you end up with like 3 or 4 guns. So let's just say 3 guns. You have your neutral sword, then you have your angel weapons, which you get 2 of, and then you have your demon weapons, which you get 2 of. So you go from about 8 different options to 2.
And I want to say actually that you referenced the weapons now. That's a great way to like segue into that. The weapon designs and uh, at least to memes, DMC just they just didn't really pull me. I gotta be honest with you.
They
Like
weren't
the
great.
Hulk cans in particular, I can't help but not I can't take them seriously. I can't. It just and I know they're supposed to be replacing Beowulf, and I see that and I'm like, you just there's no way. Beowulf's design was fucking sick. Like that gilt white and black look back from 3, and trying to compare that to, well, just some flat ass looking Hulk cans that are black and red is just like just didn't do it for me, man.
The weapons also didn't make any sense because you would get. I think that the bit that really cemented me that they didn't really think these weapons through is you get you get your first angel weapon from your mom, who was an angel, because you like, I don't know, you touch a rose or whatever that she had. Anyway, you tap in your angel side because you're a Nephilim or whatever, and you get your angel weapon. The second angel weapon you get is from fighting the Fox News parody character. I think Bob Barker is his name.
I
That
think
does
so.
sound like somebody, in my opinion, who would appear in fucking Fox News.
By the way, that present lead up to that fight though is actually fucking sick. I'm not
It's
even gonna
pretty cool.
lie.
It's pretty cool, yeah. But you kill him, and then you get your second angel weapon from him, which you're just like, I don't. That doesn't make any sense. You're a demon. Why am I getting an angel weapon from you? And then as well, on top of that, all the weapons you do get, when you do collect them from enemies after defeating them, have no correlation to their actual things. Like Beowulf's weapon, he was strong, he was fast. What was the weapon? Strong and fast. He had wolf qualities. The weapon's design has wolf qualities. You know, you get the electric Batgirl. She turns into an electric guitar. She had the whole like musical opera thing going.
Or even the
She, of
nunchucks, right?
course, yeah, the nunchucks, like their heads rotated like nunchucks and stuff. Like it's a bit looser still, but like there was something that made sense to it. You get the Hulk hands from defeating a succubus who was just a giant like disgusting worm thing that's spewing out like just whatever chemical it is that they put in the soda. You know, like the Futurama episode where they go to say like Glorb soda or whatever, which
All right, the slurm.
the Slurm episode. Honestly, it's really funny because the Slurm episode just oh no, what happened?
What? What's wrong?
I think
I
his
think
normal.
oh
No, he's back. His
Oh,
internet's
okay.
like
Thank God.
acting a little funny.
Still acting big.
yeah, because basically the Slurm episode of Futurama does everything better for what that episode is supposed, for what that segment of the game is supposed to be going for in terms of the theme, because it has the whole like, you know, fuck society, the media is controlling you, they're poisoning your drinks thing. The Futurama episode does it more intellectually like riveting and just stably and just well in 30 minutes than that like hour when you're first playing through it, inclusive of cutscenes, like hour and a half segment.
I mean,
It's really embarrassing how I yeah, actually I do want to bring this up because you said I liked the game. I find DMC Devil May Cry to be fun to play sometimes on some levels. Like some stuff I don't like about the game's design and like it's not fun to play. But in terms of like me actually saying would I recommend this game to people and like like if I actively would say I enjoyed it as a whole, I did not enjoy it as a whole.
I
As
mean,
a whole, it was okay at best.
I mean, it
I
seems like a
fair
lot of
to
your
that
issues seem
overall.
to, a lot of the issues that you both seem to have with the game seem to stem with like the actual fighting part, which is pretty important with a game style like that, you know?
Oh, I hate the story too.
Oh, the
Well,
story too.
Man, it's something.
It's
I want to say that they handled Devil Trigger well, or Devil Trigger well in the way of presentation. At least, like when you first get it, you see it, and everyone pops up like that. That's kind of cool. But then you're kind of like, this actually is not the way I want to use my Devil Trigger. I want to use it like the way I did in the old games.
yeah, because the Devil Trigger in this game, I'd say visually they could have done more because for one, visually it had to change because they were like, I think Capcom was like, you have to bring back something of the original Dante, so that's why they made the Devil Trigger. You get a red coat and white hair.
Right.
Uh, but visually they should have done more because it doesn't encompass that sense of raw power and energy nearly as much as like any of the other devil triggers where it's not raw power or whatever, but it is a devil form. Here they're trying to say it's like you're sort of tapping into this, you know, your hair's going white, you know, energy is exuding from you, that's why your coat's going red. They should have, but your coat just kind of turns red as opposed to it being cloaked in this like, I would say if what I would say they should have gone with is something like in like there's like a arc in like the near the end of Bleach, the anime, and like nearish the end of the show, or sorry, of the manga, where it's called Fullbring, where the whole
Oh,
point, yeah,
Fullbringer.
the Fullbringer arc, where he gets cloaked in just this raw, like crackling energy of a coat. And they could have done something like that, where you are having you're just seeing like the coat, the red coat you're wearing, undulate or have like spikes of energy coming off of it to really convey that sense of power. And it wasn't in there. And then mechanically it sucks because one, it takes forever to build Devil Trigger in that game. You will never in a single level, if you have a maxed out like Devil Trigger bar in terms of like the size, I don't think without items in a single level you could ever max out the Devil Trigger bar, because it builds so slowly, it gets used up so quickly, and what it does when you use it, it pops everyone into the air. So it's like, okay, now if you had ideas for doing a bunch of combos on the ground, congratulations. If you thought, oh, I want to pop Devil Trigger to take out this huge group of smaller enemies, congratulations. They're all now up in the air and spread about.
Ironically, that kind of playstyle would have been perfect for Nero, since he could actually go and grapple his way up to each one and keep comboing them in
Well,
the air.
you can
But
grapple. You have the
you know,
angel whip and everything, but it sucks because it's like you've used it and now you have to spend time setting up a combo on a bar that's already depleting faster than anything else on the earth.
I think they changed that in Definitive Edition as well. Don't quote me on that. You would know
I
better than I.
I would know better because the only experience I ever had with the game was the definitive edition,
And they
because
didn't
I didn't
change that.
get it on an Xbox. If they did change it, it's still a problem.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Damn, that's terrible, honestly, because that just makes me think of a game that reinvented the style of its series, but did it perfectly. And I feel like it's a great comparison for DMC is God of War,
Oh
because
God,
God,
it took like the base idea, it took like the base idea of the original series and changed it completely, but it wasn't for the negative, and there were still
oh yeah, no, the
hints of the old
gameplay of the
series in
new game
there.
is so good.
Yeah, and there may have been only like two weapons, but it really took its time with both of them. Like the Blades of Chaos, they still feel like the Blades of Chaos. So you can do the triangle triangle, or the square square triangle combo. That simple brain dead one. You can still do it, and it still feels effective. While with the
But
Leviathan axe, that thing's just fucking perfect. That thing's perfect.
The
combat to that game is so good, dude,
so
like by
good.
far.
And then
And like,
Mhm.
we have to
go
talk. I just want to say this one thing real quick because we have to talk about it. When you have the axe fly back into your hand, whenever you toss it, feels great every time.
Every time. Every time.
Every time. Okay, what were you gonna say, Palm?
I was just gonna say too, like from the transition between the old style of play to the new style of play, I just need to get it off my chest. Like the it feel like Kratos has gotten older. Like he's not just the young man that was going and slaying gods for like before, but like the fact the blades of chaos feel a little more deliberate to use. Like he feels a little more labored, even though you still have the freedom that you used to have per se with those old combos. But it's a
Well, I
little
wonder.
more
Go ahead.
visceral.
Mhm.
Go ahead, Kai.
I wonder if that actually explains the changing camera too, because not only is it more cinematic, but it's a lot more focused. So you can kind of say like, "Oh, Kratos's fighting style has changed to something more direct and focused instead of the general outlook that he used to have." If that makes any
Oh.
sense.
He changed.
Yeah, it's definitely from. I've only played like one God of War game before that one, and that was on the PSP.
Hmm.
Oh,
Which one?
Chains
There
of
were two.
Olympus.
Chains of Olympus. Yeah, I played
Ooh, that
Chains
was a
of
good one.
Olympus.
That was a good one.
And it's definitely like even with the Blades of Chaos, like you can definitely feel with the axe and everything, his strikes are far more calculated and like have a huge weight into them. Like it's less of this I get he has become a calmer sort of God of War. If you want to talk about like when he becomes the God of War and everything in the older games, he's swinging the blades around, chaining different weapons. It's all these crazy, huge things that he's just kind of like engaged in this. He's just indulging in his anger and just swinging like not necessarily erratically because he's still a strange soldier, but it definitely feels a lot more like unplanned and chaotic. Whereas in this with the axe, it's a swing and a hit, and the blocks and chaining with then the combos from the different runes you can slot in. It feels a lot more like he's refined himself,
Like he's
which
actually
he
taking
has
time to think.
personally because
Yeah.
he's now got a family again and a kid
Yeah, a kid.
again, a kid again.
Boy.
Just to talk about because he did have a family and then
He
they kind of
did.
got
Well, I wonder.
onto his kid.
I wonder if
They
that.
kind of.
I wonder if the idea that he has a new family has also sort of changed his, way of fighting as well. Because in the game, you need Atreus to really do well. Half of the reason that game is so good is because you can use him to gain enemies into the air longer, so you can do a longer combo. He is essential to it. So
He is essential to the game.
yeah. Well, in the last games, it was just you. You're alone, but you really don't need anybody else, and that was his outlook. But in the game, now he needs Atreus to be alive because he'll fucking break. You saw how he was when he just got a little sick.
I mean, it's also because he's just become old. Like he's much of an older man now.
He's very
Like
he's very clear. He's also full of regret too.
yeah, he you know what happened after he killed all the gods of Olympus? Literally ended the. Did it end the Greek world?
It pretty much ended the Greek world. Like the best explanation that I heard about it was he's the cause of that world's Ragnarok.
Yeah, and then he goes to Norse mythology, and he's like, I don't want to do this shit again.
Yeah,
Which I
he specifically says to Atreus, "I chose to live as a man."
what I liked about that game is that it put a lot more story into the God of War series, which I really enjoyed a lot.
Not to say that the old games didn't have a story, and
Yeah, but
I feel like
they
they
did have a
do have a
story.
bit. They have a better story than people give it credit for, if you ask me.
They have a better story than people give it credit for. I mean, but it's like, just the
But
story of God of War 3 is just more kill God.
it's more again, I've only played one, so I can't say this, but I think what Historical's trying to get at is like it's more focused on the story.
The
Right,
combat still
right.
gets massive. It still gets a lot of attention. The combat, which is still really
It just
good.
cares more about the story that it's telling now.
Yeah,
No, I wouldn't say cares. I don't think people. I don't
it
think the
puts a
writers and
big
stuff
greater
make
emphasis on
people
the story.
care
Yeah,
about the story.
more
It's
emphasis.
just a greater like putting the
Emphasis.
story forefront. Like to me, the story is either equivalent to the gameplay and the combat, like in terms of focus of the game of the newest God of War. If it's not equivalent, it is more so than the combat and the gameplay.
I feel
I
like
would
it.
almost dare to say that they had like for the new God of War, they had a story to tell, and the gameplay just assisted in the storytelling instead of the original series being more gameplay focused and just having a story as a vehicle to move the gameplay forward.
Yeah,
Mhm.
just go to different areas. It's like the story just is there so you can go to the next boss room and beat the shit out of the next god or Greek Greek mythological creature.
I mean,
Also, just to touch on it real
go
quick
ahead.
too, Kratos. I mean, like the we all know about the old like tongue-in-cheek kind of like frat boy humor the original series had. There's a sex mini game in all of the original trilogy or the original series anyway. But
How Atreus was made.
How
pre-
Atreus.
press triangle to smash. Um, but I also want to say the absence of all of that. It's almost well, it is a reflection of Kratos growing up. It is a reflection of not only Kratos growing up, but you as a fan of
Mm,
God of War growing up and having the absence of those things and not letting it really bother you because you're more invested in the man than well a lot of kind of cheap ploys from back when.
uh,
Well, I mean, the older God of War games. Yeah, you're right. They were more tongue in cheek, more Look how much of a badass Kratos is. He gets to literally sleep with Aphrodite.
I mean, something that you said earlier too, Palm, and what you just said, historical, kind of brought to mind something else that was in my head. In the older games, you would look at a mythological creature or character, and you would think, "Oh, that's going to be really fun to fight later." That would be your mindset. Like the entirety of God of War 3, the opening itself is literally just, "Hey, these are all of the ones that you're going to be killing today," and you're just like, "Oh fuck yeah, this is awesome." Well, in the new God of War, it's much less, "Okay, I'm going to kill this thing later." It's more of, "Okay, what is this?" So, just for an example, Hades in God of War 3. You see him literally punch a Titan down a mountain, and you're like, holy shit, that's cool, I'm gonna kick his ass. Well, in the new game, you meet Jormungandr, and you're like, oh my god, this thing's gonna fucking kill me. I need to calm it down. Which, it kind of also shows, like, Kratos's, new mindset, not only because of his age, but I think also because he has someone else now. With the older games, it was just, okay, once I kill the gods, that's it. I have nothing else to think about after that. Well, in this one, it's, okay, I'm just going to get this thing taken care of, and then after that, I could just watch over Atreus and I'll help him out. That's his mindset now, at least narrative-wise, I want to say.
Let's check the chat room.
Oh, yeah, we got 6 viewers, I want to say, and we got one of my real-life friends and Sickle, the Pickle.
Oh, hey guys.
Wait, are we live streaming this?
Yes.
Yeah, we're live
Oh,
streaming
I
this.
thought this was like a recorded thing.
Oh no, we're live streaming.
Ah.
Yeah.
Just as a Poggers face.
Poggers. Everybody put
Poggers.
poggers in the
We
chat.
are the podcast. Yeah, I would say when I was playing the new God of War, when I first came across the world serpent Jormungandr, mine wasn't like, oh, we have to calm this down, it's gonna kill me. A lot of the times when I came across a new character, it was like, oh, what are they gonna talk about? What are they gonna say? What's my interactions gonna be with them?
Yeah, like
know.
you're sort of expecting how this is going to affect the story.
Poggers in chat.
Like, and even in the game, imagine meeting a dragon in God of War 3. Your first mindset would be, "Oh my god, I get to fight a goddamn dragon. This is going to be awesome." While in the new one, you see a dragon and you're like, "Oh, this thing's chained up." And your son is like, "Hey dad, let's go free it." And you're like, "Do we have to?"
Well, yeah, because like when to encounter it, your son basically goes like, "Hey, do you not hear like something calling for help?" And it because he's got that whole ability, like
Yeah.
just tenacity for language. Where he's like, "You don't hear that?" And he's like, "I don't hear anything, boy."
Yeah, and it's somewhat, even that is somewhat of a subtle way of saying that there is a small disconnect between the two. That even when they try and fix it, there's always going to be that. Because just, I guess you could say in a more complicated way of saying it, because of Kratos' history, he's always going to have a tough time bonding with Atreus. But, just more directly, Atreus notices things that Kratos simply can't. He has more of an empathy, in the story, clearly, than his dad. And you see it.
Like his heart isn't like hardened by all the things that Kratos has seen, definitely by far. Because when you had to leave, Kratos lived. Yeah, of course you're gonna be skeptical of like everything, and you're not gonna have an open heart per se.
Yeah, you're very much going to be kill first, ask questions never. While Atreus is more like, hey, that thing is crying. And you're like, so? Grow some fucking balls.
Son, I'm sorry. The last thing that was crying near me tried to fucking kill me. Let's just move on. It was like, but Dad.
Oh, fine, you little fucking shit. Free the goddamn dragon.
I think it's also technically to me because of the gods in Norse mythology, at least to me, are less just jackass.
They're more human, if that makes any sense.
They're more they're not just assholes who go over and fuck any woman they see or impregnate them. Like Zeus, I'm looking at you.
Ha! You think Zeus only went after women?
Oh
Wait, hold
god,
on.
that is a sad but true statement.
That is Poseidon went after a boy.
Bore.
But
And then on top of that, you're like, oh, yeah, he's just gonna fuck him. It's like, yeah, not even as Zeus. There was that one time he like transformed to look like his own daughter, and then to fuck one of her followers.
oh god, Greek mythology
Yeah,
is disgusting
yeah. I
sometimes.
think Greek mythology is gross, but then again, that kind of fits with the tone of the original games because it's like, hey, these are some sick fucking bastards. Kill them. They deserve it.
They
Well,
more than deserved it.
well, in Norse mythology, the main villain in that game is Balder. Sure, he's the villain and he's the antagonist and all that, but you see why he's so goddamn insane, and you feel a little bit of pity for him at the least. And now that I think about it, it kind of shows like how the tone and just general shift in gaming has gone through in terms of storytelling. Just look at some older games and then look at how stories go through in, modern games, for example. Like, I can't think of anything right now because I've mentioned a few.
I mean,
Trying to think of something. Try.
I was gonna say like, if you're talking like tone shifts in games,
Mm-hmm.
I think not tone shift, but just like a shift in general. It's one of my favorite games that I used to play as a kid. It's when XCOM got rebooted. The entire feel of the game completely changed to me
Right. And,
because in
even
the old game,
XCOM. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
what happened is the original 1993 version. Once you placed a soldier down, you expected them to die.
So
Like they were gonna
you didn't have
die.
as you didn't
I'm
have as
pretty sure
much of
you
a
expect most of your characters to die in modern XCOM as well.
Well, here's the thing. In old XCOM, you literally could make squads of like 12, 24, massive armies.
but
And
this one's a
and
lot
they
more
died in one
focused.
hit. And in the new XCOM, it's more, if you can, it, it's not as much, pray to God that the RNG got, no, the pray to God that the alien just get shitty at aim,
It's also just
and
pray to God that your guy is going to be okay at the end.
yeah,
I mean,
and it's more that you can use proper tactics. Well, not proper tactics, just tactics general to just not die.
that kind of shows like it's subtly giving you more of an attachment to the soldiers that you're using. So
Yeah,
when they do die, it hurts a lot more, if that makes any sense.
it does hurt a lot more.
XCOM's greatest mistake was letting you name your soldiers, and then,
I
there's the people that name them after their friends one by one, and like, oh yeah, nothing bad will ever happen to these guys. Oh, they all die.
Later today, I'm gonna play. I'm gonna stream me playing XCOM UFO Defense.
And the game, and funnily enough, XCOM even took it a step further by, I think that new,
Customize
well, I think that new game Chimera Squad flat out
America
gave you, characters with like
character.
mindsets and like
Oh
motivations
yeah,
and all
yeah,
that.
no. Well, Chimera Squad is a huge spin. It's not
Spin-off.
supposed to be an XCOM game in the traditional
It's
sense. It is a
different.
huge
It's
spin-off.
different.
I
It's
mean, the
also
literal plot is you are cops in a city that is like
it's
supposed to be the hybrids of for aliens and everything, and you're like this multi-galaxy national squad or whatever. Like
multiracial.
it it's like a classic sort of like
Buddy cop.
Misfits get
like
together.
but not necessarily buddy cop, but like in that same vein of just like cop thing where it's like you're the experimental group of cops that needs to bring order to the city.
It was heavily
The
inspired
commission.
by 80s and 90s cop
It's
films, though.
yeah. It doesn't. Yeah, you're completely correct.
It's setting up though for Terror of the Deep and hopefully Armageddon.
I don't know what that means.
Those were the second and third games in the original XCOM trilogy.
Oh, so those
Wow.
might be the next things to come up.
It was even teased in XCOM 2 that
Ooh.
the aliens are doing something underwater.
Oh no, they're underwater. Ooh, they're
No,
fish. Oh god, it's
seriously.
actually Cthulhu. Oh fuck. Oh god. Oh god.
No,
Oh
seriously.
no,
In the
dude, we're going to Atlantis.
no, that's actually I think that was like one of the end things in XCOM 2 is that you literally have to assault like Atlantis or something.
Oh, dude, that's
Not
cool as
XCOM 2.
fuck.
Not XCOM 2. It was XCOM Terror of the Deep. And that game is even harder than XCOM UFO Defense.
I mean, honestly, I do appreciate games that don't handhold you and that specifically try to harm you in like every chance they can get.
Listen, in XCOM UFO Defense, like the new XComs give you like some breathing room.
Chance to breathe.
XCOM UFO Defense, literally what happened is the first day, the literal day I popped out my base, an hour later, an alien battleship came up and raided my base, and I lost the game instantly.
I mean,
Jeez.
That's just a
sounds like
little unfair.
sounds like you're just a scrub lord, you know?
Listen, they came in with endgame units. How the fuck could I?
Just get
I
good.
mean, if you
Just
just
get
got
good, bro.
good, you
Yeah,
know.
just get fucking
I
good.
only had 8 soldiers. They had like 24 endgame units when I.
Wow. Okay, so you
I
don't
mean,
know
if we
how to
United
use
took out a
8
whole
soldiers. Come on.
army. You should have hot gates them.
Just my favorite tactic in that game though still is the suicide bomber.
I
Can you explain?
okay,
You would,
okay,
you
wait,
would
wait, wait,
you
wait. Before you
outnumber
explain,
your soldiers.
before you explain. Is this something that we can talk about live? Is this?
I mean, it's not actually. It's still a tactic. It's a tactic in a game.
Yeah.
It's not like it's
Yeah,
related to any modern politics.
I mean, you talk
true.
about suicide bomber units. Like,
Yeah,
there's a
bomber
lot of
units.
those in games.
Right, I guess.
Basically, what it is in the old XCOM games, you would strap a soldier,
Mm,
fill the brim with explosives, then you would
mm.
send them at the enemy when they're shooting at you. And the whole point is that you prime a grenade before the turn ends. So when the aliens do kill him, his grenade still goes off.
Martyrdom.
Yeah, exactly. It's surprisingly a really good tactic.
That just
That's if, however, you're in a tricky situation. I
that,
don't recommend it. Period.
that just reminds me of that
Better.
one. That just reminds me of that one perk in World at War multiplayer, like Revenge or something like that. Where once you
Oh,
die,
that's what I meant by martyrdom, dude.
yeah, once you die, you drop a grenade.
Fuck that ability, God.
God, I use that as a crutch just to get
Use that
spiked.
as a-
But yeah, historical. I would say like, especially if you're in one of those like really tight situations, sometimes you just gotta send the sacrificial lamb in and be like, all right, take as many of them down as you can, please.
Which is we don't get that in the new XCOM. The new XCOM, it's more like you are the elite soldiers, right? Like you can't just sacrifice a soldier like that because it's only like 6 guys max. So the death of one is a massive blow to your unit. But in the old XCOM, you could get up to squads of like 24. So losing one guy wasn't too much of a big deal. Like you just suicide. You literally just do that tactic and just getting the new recruits, send them out. They die. Well, just send them out again.
Okay, see, this is the mentality of a space marine versus an imperial guard.
See, that's actually accurate though, because here's the thing: the aliens in XCOM, like the first XCOM UFO Defense,
Mm-hmm.
were quite literally the hard. They would not. They could take multiple hits, and they would one-shot your own units. Because they start the game with plasma rifles. You start the game with like shitty regular human rifles, so you're fucked.
Again, this is what I mean. Space Marines and Imperial Guard.
Becomes the Imperial Guard.
Oh, there went the
Kai,
Imperial Guard.
could you give context to the people who don't know what you mean?
Oh, okay.
Uh,
So for those who don't exactly know what I mean, Warhammer 40K, it's the sci-fi universe, all that, but a Space Marine is this 8 foot tall humanoid with bulging muscles. He is covered in basically an M1 Abrams, and he ate an SUV. Instead of a normal gun, he is shooting what is basically an automatic RPG as a weapon, and he has been trained from birth to do nothing else but to fight, to kill, and to not even express the emotion called fear. So the death of one of these guys, who has obviously taken years to make, would probably suck for the squad that he's in, because they're important. People spend a lot of time making these things, while the Imperial Guard on the other hand is just regular humans. They have armies that literally count in the millions, so they literally just throw them in and hope for the best.
unironically, is the best way you can describe the dichotomy between old and new XCOM, and I like it.
Yeah,
Because
it
the old
is.
the old games, right? Because that's why they had that's why you had so many soldiers you could fit into your fucking aircraft. Because the moment you landed there, it was not a guarantee. You were guaranteed to lose at least one soldier in the old games. And while the new XCOM games are hard, it's more built around squad composition. In the old games, you literally had to give everyone the same gun, the same armor. There was no specialization like you have in the new games,
There's
which
like a
allows you to
standardized equipment, right?
that was usually the best option, just standardized equipment.
I mean, I don't hate either mindset. I just wish that there were like more options, like you know have expendable units and have the more important ones, if that makes any sense.
I think the bigger issue with that kind of came with I think historical brought it up like just a little bit ago, but the size of the amount of units you can bring into a battle has shrunk, and I think if it were to go back up to the larger number,
It
you could probably have more expendable units and not think about well, I'm gonna lose one of my team of 6, and I can only bring 6 versus I don't know how many, so I have to be very
20,
careful about how I use them and all that.
yeah,
Well,
you can only
the way I'm thinking about it is, why not have like, okay, so I can have 6 elite units, and I can have 10 expendables,
usually
and
because I've played both.
maybe the amount changes per mission, if that makes any sense.
I've that's I mean depends, yeah, depending on the mission, but I've played the old XCOM and the new one, and the biggest thing I could take from it is in the new XCOM games, your soldiers actually have special abilities, like the new ones. They have special abilities they can use to their advantage to kill. Meanwhile, in the old XCOM, it was they didn't have special abilities. You had to train special abilities to become them or give them specific equipment. And that was based on the stats that the game graciously decided to give them, which the stats would only improve if you threw them into the battlefield, and that was literal hell. Because what would happen is that you had to send in soldiers who were usually just like usually had shitty aim and didn't know what they were doing, and it was hell because what would end up happening is that it was hell to train up units. You had to send them out into combat multiple times, and you had to make sure they didn't die. Was the biggest thing, which is why they developed suicide tactics as well in the old XCOM games, so you wouldn't have to worry about expending your elite units too much.
Right, right. So you could keep the guys that actually matter somewhat in the back while everybody else is in the front. I mean,
Basically,
God,
yeah.
and
I
just
mean,
the
that
fact
makes
that like
sense.
keeping a unit alive seems like so difficult.
I will show you later today if you want to come watch me. I will prove to you how hard it is.
I don't know if you need to prove to me how hard it is, considering your standard of difficulty. I mean, again, I heard you break mentally playing Darkest Dungeon. I heard you break.
I don't consider that. I actually had fun playing that game most of the time. I don't consider it to be that hard of a game.
Well, that's the important part. Even if you do consider it a little hard, you should still consider it fun.
However,
Because,
yeah, but
you know, Dark Souls 1, 2, and even 3, all of those games, those are hard, but I think they're fun. That's what matters. And
true.
I don't know if Palm or Cross has any examples, but you should try and think of games with that aspect if you're making it hard. You should also think, this is pretty unfair, this is pretty cruel, but is it still fun?
Fury.
Never played it.
Actually, I'm gonna go off on a whole tangent if I go on. So,
Go ahead.
tell us
Go
more
ahead.
about Fury Cross.
No. You go ahead first. I can talk about Fury any other day of the week. I want to hear what you have to say.
So I was talking with another buddy like a couple days ago actually, because we are talking about difficulty in video games and how it's like become such kind of, it's just like it's a lot of knob turning at this point. Mobs and bosses will have twice the health, or they'll do like twice or 3 times the damage. I don't know. Maybe they'll just outright kill you in some games. But the way difficulty used to be, especially in like older RPGs and like certain fighting games, would be that they would develop different tactics, so they would only use specific move sets and phases and different difficulties. There wasn't like, I want to pick an easy, medium, hard, or and rip my fucking hair out mode. It was, you played on one mode, and how good you were defined how far and how much you see of the game.
That just
And
reminds me.
that is actually the type of thing that I would like to see more of in games. Dark Souls is a perfect example of what I like. Like that single difficulty where the better you get at it, the more of the game you see, and skill in of itself is a reward for you because you get to see more of the game, and so it's conducive to you being more invested into your own gameplay experience.
I was
Hmm.
gonna comment on that real quick. Just reminds, I keep bringing it back to the original 1993 XCOM because it's a good game, but while that game did have like multiple difficulty
Options.
meters,
Hmm.
options, yeah, that didn't matter when you actually sat down and played the game because sure the aliens might have better aim than you slightly, but what usually happened was is that how good you were in the game would actually depend on what the aliens would send after you. Because, for example, if you started beating the shit out of the aliens too good and started doing your job a little too well, the aliens would just get fed up with you and just start, sending, their most elite units after you and keep sending them in waves until you broke. Which I like that
Yeah,
because it
Yeah,
because
the AI adapts to you.
yeah,
yeah,
and
and that's a great
I'll,
response for difficulty because it, adapts to what you're doing, and if you're getting good and better and better and better, the game will respond, so it doesn't become just a steamroll for you.
yeah, it's Darkest Dungeon does that to a similar level, just makes increase the difficulty, but also as the AI have multiple different ways of dealing with your people, so you're gonna have to, change your unit style at least once, or your team comp at least once during the campaign.
Yeah,
It's
just
but
just
I
to just to
prefer
experiment and all that.
the way Dark Souls does it to me still is one of the best ways you handle difficulty,
By
and
actually
to an
making you
extent,
get good at it.
yeah, and I also like the way the original 93 XCOM did it by having the enemy adapt to you instead. So you had to constantly make up new ways to beat the enemy at the game, lest the enemy, overpower you because the enemy can do that.
Yeah, and I feel like what Palm said earlier with Dark Souls, Dark Souls 3 kind of did it the best. I hate saying it, but I think it did it the more obvious way. In that the enemies in the first area, their attacks are very clearly scripted. It's very clear that the game is somewhat training you for what you will need to do later on in the game. It's sort of
Right.
building you up for, hey, when a character is at this point, this is where you will want to try and parry. Even though stuff will get faster, you should still be able to recognize it in time.
You kind of get railroaded in the beginning to like a pseudo training section per se, even though
Yeah,
it won't
it's
feel
it's
like
like a
that at one
semi
time.
tutorial. I hate saying it, but it is like a tutorial.
Whereas like you'd be in Dark Souls or like Demon Souls, and if you want to go the complete wrong direction, it's like, oh yeah, I want to go to the end game content, and I don't know what exactly that's the end game content.
But
Sure,
even
why
but
not?
even then, Dark Souls 1 was trying to push you subtly to go to the right direction by making stuff too hard for you initially, because it was like, oh, that's really fucking difficult and scary. I'll just go fight some potatoes instead. Because
Um,
it's a more subtle way of trying to direct you where you need to be. Also, Cross, what were you gonna say about Fury? Because I need to know now.
I mean, well, I guess the point was that the game is hard, and it can feel unfair sometimes, but that's kind of the point where it's like, you're supposed to be getting better and just keep doing things over and over to eventually get to to eventually beat the boss and everything, because it is a boss. The game is just a boss rush.
Hmm.
Um, so I just sort of thought about it in that regards of like it's the one difficulty and it's all about you getting better in order to advance, but also just the game is good. The game, it's stylish, the music is fantastic, the character designs are amazing, every fight feels unique. um the story is interesting, and just it's fun. It's cool. It's just a game that exudes style, and I love it for it.
Triple S.
I was gonna say, I've had that game forever. I've never actually launched it. I got it in like a humble bundle, I think it was like a year back now. Gosh, my
Typical,
backlog's way too
typical
big.
Palm, making a huge
Oh.
backlog.
Bro,
Wow.
moment.
I'll get to it eventually, and then I never
One of
fucking
these days
get
I'll
it,
play
man.
it. One of these days I'll play it cash like it's on Killer Instinct again.
What? It sounds like you're looking for beaten Kai.
And maybe
What?
maybe
What?
I'm subtly giving you a challenge. You don't know.
So, for anyone that doesn't know, I'm really, really into fighting games. I'm really, really into fighting games, and
I'm.
me and Kai, and historical now, we've been
You got
running
me into it.
Killer Instinct together,
Oh yeah.
playing matches against one another, and I think everyone's found who they're really like gonna commit to and like main and develop like in order to get better at the game. But
If,
like, oh man.
if Sickle is still watching, you know who. You know who.
Yeah,
Oh, if
Sickle would play Riptor. I know for a fact.
he
But then
would
again,
play
then
Riptor.
again, then again, Riptor isn't a bad character to learn as a beginner. I want to say that because they have options. They have more options for you to go for.
Now,
Which
to everyone else,
go ahead, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I was basically the same for of Palm fighting games, but for strategy games instead. I'm really into those.
And
I have a whole library. Half my Steam library is just strategy games.
I want to say that I was
Literally
the
half.
same way with FPSs for a while, but then I kind of broadened my horizon.
Broaden your horizons.
Yeah, partially because Halo is still not out on PlayStation, but I'll be patient. One of these days it'll come. I
One of
know.
the
It's
ways
called
forever.
Destiny.
I will beat
Shut
you
up, you're
within an inch
incorrect.
of your life.
Shut up, you're incorrect.
As somebody who has spent ungodly amount of hours on Destiny, even though I hate the fucking game, it's not Halo. It's not gonna be Halo, and you shouldn't think of it as Halo. It's not nearly as fun as Halo.
Oh.
Even as someone who definitely kisses PlayStation's toes whenever I get the chance, I really wish I had Halo. That is a good game, I will admit.
I mean, luckily most of them are on PC now. I mean,
Yeah,
like,
but
Master
the
Chief
the only
Collection
issue
Drop.
with that, Palm, is I have a potato.
Oh, have you raised your potato? Have you nursed it? Have you
I,
petted it?
I've tried, but it doesn't change the fact that once I put a keyboard into it and a monitor into it, it's still a potato, so it's only gonna run games so well. An ant is still an ant, no matter what you do to him.
Pour one out for your boy. Press F in the chat for Kaiju and his potato.
Oh yeah, F's in the chat for Potato Chan.
But yeah, realistically though, I want to say that I'm really thankful Microsoft has like gone with this push to like make all of their games available on PC and not just Xbox. Like
I like
because
that.
I mean, yes, console exclusive teehee, but it seems like for this next generation, I don't think Microsoft really cares about selling their console as much as they do selling their Game Pass. Because
Which
like that
is
Game
what
Pass is
matters.
really fucking good.
Yeah.
Game Pass? What's a Game Pass?
So Game Pass, like, it's basically the old version of Xbox Live, but what you're able to do now is any game that's like in their like curated library, which is like 200 to 300 games. If you get Game Pass, you can play any of those. You can just download them free, and for as long as you have Game Pass, and play them as much as you want. And as someone that like, I mean, I have plenty of games, so I don't gotta really worry about that. But if I were in a different position and I wanted to just pay $15 to play like 3 games, I'd play through the month. That's a steal. That's great. That's amazing.
Yeah,
Like,
so it's a bit like PlayStation now.
Well,
yes. Except I think PlayStation Now you pay by the game, don't you?
I don't think
not
so. I think the
no,
point
no,
is
no.
that
You pay
it's
for the
monthly subscription,
subscription, and you get any of the games that are in the subscription.
which
Uh,
I might get it. Well, because eventually things will go off, but I might get it just purely because I really, really want to play. Because I've recently replayed a bit of Infamous Second Son, and I really want to
Ooh,
play the original Infamous games, like Infamous One and
ooh.
Infamous Two, and those are not going to get. Those are probably dead in the water for getting any kind of
Remasters?
remake,
Yeah.
because well, because they're all on PlayStation now, or at least Infamous
For
One.
now.
Yeah,
I
Infamous and Infamous 2 and Infamous Festival of Blood are all on PlayStation now, so I might at some point just straight up hit up Infamous. I might pay for it and play through it because I do really want to play those Infamous games.
I
I'm
mean,
planning on
honestly, yeah.
I'm planning on getting the Yakuza games of all things.
Oh, dude, I really highly encourage you to get Yakuza, please.
Dame dane.
Daneo.
The Bakamatai.
Yeah, thank you for calling it the actual name. Thank you.
I love that. Remember that meme I sent you earlier, you and Palm?
Yeah, it's too fitting. It's too fitting is the issue.
See, the thing is, I know if I started it, you guys would just sing it to completion, so everyone would just know.
Well, no, I would sing it to completion because I know the full fucking song.
True.
Like I could start it from the beginning, and I bet you guys could be able to finish it.
Oh, it's so good. Like if you guys haven't played the Yakuza series, it's like wacky fun Japanese GTA. Like
But
it is
well, okay, so here's what
no death.
happens.
No
Here's
deaths.
here's what happens. Here's what happens. Okay,
Is there?
this is the same game that is about a crime organization in Japan. It's the same game that gets you hooked. It makes you want to cry. It makes you feel for the characters. It has such an engaging and deep and well meaning story. And in the same fucking playthrough, you can go to a bowling alley and win a chicken, an actual chicken, and make him your property manager.
Hell,
No,
oh, holy
nuggets.
shit! Bloodborne is on PlayStation now.
Oh, nice.
Dude, just get Bloodborne
Well,
normally. Come on.
get
I already
Bloodborne
own
normally.
Bloodborne. I'm just saying, it's surprising that they have like that big of a game on there.
Although that does make me think, man, I was looking through the Killzone series and I was like, oh wow, they got Killzone 2. Get now with PlayStation Now. God damn it. Can I just buy the fucking game?
I was just gonna say one thing more about the Yakuza series is that I do remember reading somewhere that you could that some actual former members of the Yakuza said there was elements of the Yakuza series that were like extremely realistic, and it's like, oh boy, which ones? They just said
Yeah.
some elements.
I,
If it's the man children part or those guys in diapers, I would laugh so hard.
I
honestly,
remember there was like an interview I read, maybe it was on Polygon or something, I don't know, a long time ago, that was about like they got Yakuza members to play the Yakuza games, and they kept ripping on what's the name of the main character again? It's
Kiryu.
Kiryu.
Kiryu. They keep ripping on Kiryu for having a cheap suit.
Oh, that's fucked up.
That's, okay, the fact that that's an actual plot point in Zero makes me fucking laugh.
Oh my gosh.
Come on, can't you just trust your brother on this? No, I think I'll stick with this.
Historical died again.
Oh,
Oh, he'll be back. He'll be back.
yeah, he'll be back one of these days. But yeah,
What would you say is your favorite Yakuza between the both of you guys?
I don't know. I don't play Yakuza.
Oh, rest in peace.
oh, cross. How could you? How could you? But I've now played Kiwami 2, so I can
Mhm.
safely say Zero is my favorite.
Should I start with Zero or Kiwami?
I want to say
Oh,
I want to say Zero because I think it'll be more natural. And
it leads into the rest of the series.
yeah, and
I'm gonna
some
use
of
Zero
and
then.
some of the elements in Kiwami were they added some elements in Kiwami to, more develop the game, but playing Zero beforehand makes you already invested in the characters that are in Kiwami, if that makes any sense.
It's 15. Ooh, it's
Yeah,
it's
they're not
15
they're
bucks.
not cheap games. I mean, they're not cheap.
They are cheap.
Yeah,
They had a
they are okay. I misphrased that. they are not expensive games. That's what I was trying to say. They are not expensive at all. Like, you can get most of the series, I want to say, for surprisingly cheap. In fact, I'm tempted to get Yakuza 4 or 3, I want to say. There was a Yakuza game where you played as 4 people, so I'm kind of interested in that one.
I forget which one that is.
I think it's 4. I think it's 4.
It's 4 or 5.
Yeah, because I heard that was one of the better ones in the series because of like the different perspectives of who you play as. Because obviously you play as Kiryu, and he's Kiryu, so obviously he's going to be good. But you play as Sajima, who I know shows up more in the series. And then you play as 2 other guys that I don't know the names of right now. So
Well, you'll figure it out when you play, right?
yeah, I'll figure it out when I play. That's what matters. And go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was gonna transition. That's all.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was gonna mention too that Yakuza 7 coming out and becoming more of an RPG, I think is insanely interesting. Just because like it is a major gameplay shift that I think went over a lot better than people imagined. I remember when it was initially announced, people were like, "Oh, I can't believe they're doing this to the Yakuza series. It's gonna be awful." And then all of the actual fans who, or at least the Japanese fans so far that have played it, have been like, "I'm in love. This is great. This is everything I wanted it to be."
Well, I
And
think that kind of shows that the developers of that game not only wanted to do something fresh, but they were willing to do something fresh.
to take a risk this far in the series too. I mean, like, I've only seen a couple series being able to get away with that and successfully, mind you, and that's like Resident Evil, Yakuza, and well, at least they're the first 2 that come to mind, at least so far.
Well, I think stuff like that, when you're so far into the series, you kind of need something to change it up because, Resident Evil, even at 4, it wanted to change up the formula at least a little bit, so it did that. And then with 7, ironically, it changed it up massively, and that worked out great, but because it still felt right. And if Yakuza 7 still feels right, then that's what matters.
Then I would also say, when you say it feels right, I would really want to hammer on that. It's like when you're coming back to what the series is all about, and you're not letting people forget that you're not entirely changing the series, you're just changing an aspect of it. Like, this will always be like Resident Evil, this will always be Yakuza, and we're still going to have all the wacky fun stuff going up and down the streets, and we're still going to have some of your favorite characters. We're just changing the gameplay. So,
That
I mean,
reminds
it's not like a complete disconnect.
that reminds me of what we were talking about earlier with God of War. We're just changing this one little thing, and at the beginning of the game, first thing that it says, Atreus, asks Kratos, "Hey, Dad, does something feel a little different to you now?" And he says, "Yes, it does, boy. Everything is different now. Best not to dwell on it." Which is, subtly saying, hey, things may be different now, but don't dwell on it. It's still the same.
Mm.
Which, that's a good way to look at it.
Another thing, God of War for like 2 seconds.
Okay, go
You know
ahead.
how nice it is to play a game without a loading screen?
Oh god,
Like,
it's so good.
like it's that cinematic feeling of just transitioning from one thing to another from the title screen even. It's just like, oh, it feels so good.
I
What
mean,
are we talking about?
I
God of War.
hate kissing Ghost of Tsushima on the feet again, but it does something very similar in that fast traveling is actually fast. The loading screens really are just like, a snap of the fingers. It's nothing,
Right.
and you can really just transition into a cutscene. You can transition into a new area seamlessly. It feels like, and it's nice. It's nice to just flow.
You did for about like 3 days have an orgasm in my DMs about how good Ghost of Tsushima was.
Yeah, I'm still recovering.
Still recovering.
1 hour into Ghost of Tsushima, our boys here with the katana.
Oh,
He's already planning the trip to Japan.
I mean, honestly, I need to put emphasis on this again. I was, first day, I got it, started playing it. I looked at my clock and I realized, I've spent a day playing this. I should lay down. Yeah, I should go to bed. Then I woke up. I saw my controller was still on my desk, and I was like, an hour wouldn't hurt. and you see that trap. You see that trap. And I can't think of that many games that have gotten me trapped like that. Actually, yeah, they just like a open question. What games have gotten you guys trapped like that?
What games you got me trapped like that?
Yeah,
I'm gonna say it, Darkest Dungeon,
I expected it.
because that game
It
it
gets
has
it gets
the
you hooked, right?
it gets you hooked because you have it's a slow build up, but once you get there, you get there.
Hmm.
And I'm gonna say this: the modding community really shines in that game a lot
A lot of
because
PC,
like you
a
can,
lot of good PC games do.
yeah, because if you ever want to just like get a fresh new experience, download a couple mods on Darkest Dungeon. You get whole new heroes, enemies. Some guy even modded in an entire new region
I mean, hey, it's something.
entirely based around jetpack. Insane.
It's something.
It's something, yeah.
What about you? And
Cross, what about you?
yeah, yeah.
Um.
I swear to God, if you say Leisure Suit Larry got you hooked, I'm gonna beat the crap out of you.
I've never played Leisure Suit Larry.
Okay, good. You made me respect you just a little more.
I've never heard of that game.
Don't.
Oh, it's a series.
It's a series. It's not a good series.
It's
So bad.
It's really bad.
It's really bad.
Uh, let me look over here. I would say I think okay. I'm gonna say a couple of them just because some of them are repeats, so we don't have to talk about them.
Okay.
One, Death Stranding. I
Mhm.
got that, and I got sucked into that. I constantly did my best to play it whenever I could. But I would say that the biggest thing that like hooked me recently, like, and that where I had a lot of time to play it was Devil May Cry 5 because that came out during the summer or some kind of break I had from school. And so I got it and I think I beat it in 24 hours.
Okay, that's like a
Like
perfect example of what
more or
what
less
happened to me.
I'm more or less beat it in one sitting.
God, like I can't even believe that game was like that on top of it. Like all the fan service, the way they like the combat, just ugh,
Yeah, no.
Team 5 was worth waiting 10 years for.
Okay, so the same game for you, Paul. I take it.
Um, it depends on what time era we're asking. But I will actually. It's gonna call me a madman for this one, but so again, I'm a huge Metal Gear fan,
Okay.
and I'm still in the middle of like school, and I ditched class because on the day of Metal Gear Solid 4 came out, I didn't stop playing the game until the credits rolled, and that was my mistake. That was my mistake because I fell asleep during the credits and then realized I missed an entire 2-hour ending cutscene after the fact, and I was like, you know what? It's fine.
Can you
I'll just
even
play it
beat that
again.
game in 24 hours?
You can beat that game in 24 hours.
How in
It's
the
really
fuck?
long.
How?
How in
Because
the
like that would be a
hell?
full. You'd have to be awake for the full 24 hours to get the cutscenes out of the way.
how the fuck. I'm
Paul,
impressed. I am
what?
only impressed. That's my only thing.
What?
Impressed.
What kind of
You
red
can
cocaine were you
pre-install
snorting?
He was snorting
Mountain
all the
Dew
cocaine.
and Balls Energy.
How did your wait? You skipped
You
class to
kidding
do it, right?
Yeah, skip class to do it.
I
You
am
Like,
you
How
it,
did
should have
you?
gotten a
How did
class
your
credit.
parents or what? Was it what? How did your parents not like fucking figure that out and like beat the shit out of you for doing that?
oh no, my
d-
mom. God bless her soul, was like, I get it, don't worry.
Wow.
Oh.
You, that is
Aw.
not my parents. If my parents found out I did that, I would never have the internet again. I
Oh
would
my
just be in my
God.
room. I mean, to be fair, they are like,
I think mine would be more like, oh God, I'm so sick today. Slowly reaches over to PlayStation 4. Yeah, but you're real fucking sick, aren't you, you little fucking motherfucker? And then they slowly
Every fucking parent ever.
one time I
slowly close the door, but they're just subtly saying, yeah, get it out of your system.
one time I puked and my parents still forced me to go to school.
Yeah, I
And
think
then
you
I
mentioned
threw
that
up,
one time.
and then I threw up in class, and then the school kicked me out, and my parents got mad at me.
Yeah.
See, if I was ever like legitimately sick, I would just wait to get to school to get sick because if the school throws me out, then I have every reason to be home, and I'm just like, all right, screw it, whatever.
Just pukes all over the teacher.
Either that or I make it to the bin, one or the other. And if
Project,
no teacher
project,
wants to deal with you for the rest of the day,
This is what you
off
give
you
for
project,
this is what you give for choosing Chad, Stacy.
projectile vomits all over the kids.
This is
God,
vengeance for that fucking locker day. Yeah.
Fuck off.
Bro.
Now I
My
can.
internet's
Now. Oh God, his internet. Oh no.
No, he's back. He's back.
All right.
alive.
All right.
I just projectile vomits all over your bully. Just like, oh, eat that shit. And he punches you.
Although I'm thinking like
But
one more topic though, or one
Sure.
more
what's up?
one more transition before we start closing up.
Wine me down.
It might be a longer one though, so that's the convenient part. What are like certain games from your childhood that you think molded who you are today? Like actually had an influence on who you were as a kid?
Oh god, I'm gonna say it. I really enjoyed playing the Mario games when I was a kid. Like a lot, a lot.
Mario.
Yeah.
I played a fuck ton of Blinks the Time Cat. Don't know what that says about me.
It means you're a lunatic and you need to be put in an insane asylum or else you'll stab a person.
Specifically, I played Blinks the Time Cat 2, something of time and space, or time and space, or whatever.
Oh
I
god.
love how
Um,
I led this up. Like I lead this conversation. Oh, games that influenced you as a child, things that made you who you are today, and you're just like Blinks the Time Cat.
well, I would say things like games like Blinks the Time Cat, and probably games like Jet Set Radio, which I never played but was super influenced by, in that I constantly looked at stuff about it in order to play it because I was super into like the style and everything. Ha- I've super been shaped by like a punk sort of like graffiti street aesthetic. I love that shit. It's probably why I like cities so much. Besides the fact that I grew up in one of the
City.
biggest metropolises in the fucking world, um, it was just all about this sort of style and self-expression that I latched onto, because that was like one of the first things said in like Jet Set Radio was like, the kids call, the government's calling it a menace or whatever. The kids just say they're just trying to express themselves. And so it's a huge thing for me is self-expression. I am constantly trying to figure out a way to show myself off, not even necessarily not even necessarily to the world, but heart and wise to myself.
Mhm.
That's what I think a lot of it works for self-expression, is to figure out who you are by trying to focus on some aspect of yourself and putting it into something and see what it becomes.
I was gonna say that I didn't just play Mario as a kid. I also played a game called some of you might have heard of this game, Mountain Blade.
Yeah, Mountain
All
Blade
right,
Warband.
Mountain Blade.
Mountain Blade Warband. I played when I like 10 like I think it was like I was 8 years old when I got like Mountain Blade Warband,
Hmm.
which they made Bannerlord recently, and I played a little bit of Bannerlord, and I love that game. But back to nostalgia. But what I like with Mountain Blade games that I got it because I got a book about knights one time, and I'm like, oh boy, this is really cool. So I heard, oh boy, a game you can become a knight. I played that game and I got really interested in like, oh, this is really cool. I learned more about the medieval ages. It kind of got me into the man I would the historian I would eventually, grow into.
It,
I
it
just
was
really
it
love the
was the
shit out of the
hook
game.
on the fishing line that you needed.
Yeah, well, it's also introduced me to Paradox Games, which introduced me to Crusader Kings 2,
And
Europa Universalis 4, and Hearts of Iron 4.
yeah,
Which
that game that you may be more addicted than crack at.
listen, I got so addicted. I work on things on that game. Okay, I don't work on the game actually. No, I don't. But I just love the game. Period.
I
Love the
know.
community around. The community around it can be an ass, but it just. But Mountain Blade, definitely one of the games I played a lot as a kid.
Hmm.
Especially I like playing it with um modded and DLC'd because that just made it more fun.
Right. And
And considering where I also grew up in, which is I grew up in many of the old towns of Europe. Like
so you
I
could
grew up
kind
with
of
the
you could kind of see
Countryside.
where this stuff came from, like actually see it.
Yeah, yeah. I physically went to many of the castles, medieval castles from the period, and it's just fascinating to me. Not only that medieval castles, but later on, I would also my mom would buy me a bunch of World War II games, which I would play a lot of, and I love those games.
Your,
It's really
I'm sorry, your mom bought you World War II games?
but 10-year-old historical man was really interested in World War II, so they're like, oh, let's go get him something. So they bought me a bunch of World War One and World War II games, because I asked for because I'm like, oh, I want World War II. It's like, and then I played
Bro,
them.
my mom was so not into games that not only like when we first got an Xbox 360, the first thing she did was take away Halo because of course Halo was
Oh,
all over the news at that point and like violent video games and Halo's constantly being named. Um and she was like, "Yeah, this is way too violent. I don't want you kids playing it." But she didn't take away Gears of War because she was a fucking boomer who didn't understand what that was. And
Become
so,
boomer moment.
but here's the thing. So me and my brother went like, she won't let us play Halo, even if she let us keep Gears of War. Even if we kept Gears of War, if we played it and she came up and saw, she'd kill us. So let's just tell her that this is exceptionally more violent than Halo, and that it makes no sense for us to keep it if she won't let us play Halo. So we did
And then
because
and
that's
then
a
you can't
smart
play either of
strategy.
them.
yeah, and then we couldn't play either of them because we were like, we don't want to die. We don't want to die tonight.
I think for me, I can think of like 5 games that kind of had that influence on me. I know it's bad to narrow it down to like 5 because but obviously Minecraft. I feel like that started off my like creativity and like my innocent childhood part. But then again,
That all started
that's
with
an
innocent childhood.
obvious answer, right?
Yeah,
But
but which kid hasn't played a lot of Minecraft? Be honest. Which one of you doesn't play Minecraft?
Bro,
yeah,
Minecraft's so fucking fun though.
yeah,
Yeah, it
it's
is.
still
It's
fun.
unironic.
It's still
It's
fun.
a timeless game. I swear you could get a kid from 2014 who played the hell out of Minecraft like 2012, 20, whenever became really big on the internet. First off,
And
you
have
could
them
sit
play
those
it
kids down
today.
today, and they'd have even more fun because there's more stuff to do.
Yeah, but
They're still adding new biomes.
I think like for me, like games that are more personalized towards me, I think the first Dark Souls because that game actually got me through like one of the worst periods of my life. And it did it subtly in that, it was like, hey, give up, you'll go hollow. Just, that sort of stuff. It got me thinking about, trying to, at least move forward with that period in my life and, just other games in general. Skyrim, it sort of got me interested into the idea of like, Nordic inspired things, werewolves, ice, magic, all these, other fantasy elements that more people know about nowadays and all that. Skyrim's
I
become a
would.
meme, but it was still new to me as a kid, or new enough that it got me interested into all that
Yeah.
stuff.
It kind of got made. It kind of got memed into oblivion because Todd Howard decided, tee hee, let's port it to every gaming console that exists.
Skyrim 25, to
They've already confirmed it for like PS5.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
terrible. It's terrible, but that was the game that, got me interested as a kid. It was one of the few things that I got really addicted to as a kid.
It's not a bad game. It's just that Todd Howard
Yeah,
won't let it die.
yeah, just let it die in peace, please.
The game came out on PS3, and now it's going out on PS5. It's like a fucking whole generational jump.
Stop, please. And like last game though, last one. Prototype 1 and 2.
I never got to play one until like a year ago. I played a shit out of it too.
I'd never played those games.
Oh, dude,
Honestly,
Prototype's so much fun.
those games got me so interested in the action and like coming up with like my own ideas. Just like based off of the aesthetics of the game alone, I was like, man, I wish I could do something like that, come up with something that cool. Wait a minute.
I play a lot of those games as a kid mostly because you just throw one game at me and I'll play that for eternity.
Oh.
It's also because little me sucked acid games and I couldn't play them for shit.
I mean, fair enough, fair enough. I had to play on beginner or easy mode every time. And final one. Sorry, I forgot about this one. The first Doom.
You played the original Doom.
I played the original Doom because I saw the trailer for Doom 3 BFG edition. I was like, holy shit, that looks fucking cool. I obviously couldn't say the F word, but you get what I'm saying.
I didn't get to play Doom until
But
early 2019.
oh, dude, it's
After the Doom Eternal release, so I played the Doom remake, then I played the original Doom, then I played Doom Eternal,
dude.
which is getting
dude.
DLC soon.
Yeah, it's getting DLC soon, and I'm so hyped because it seems like you're actually talking to the father, and that's like a whole nother topic altogether.
Do pre-orders get free DLC? Like, do you get it for?
I have no idea. But
Because I pre-ordered mine.
I want to check. Also,
We pre-ordered.
sorry for skipping over you, Palm, but now it's your turn. Yeah.
Oh man, because I'm actually glad you got to me last. Because like, there's been so many games I feel like have like they were just important to me at different parts of my life, you know. And between like Resident Evil, for example, always being like near and dear to me and scaring the piss out of me from from the starting cutscene to the point where I'd be like so afraid I'd hit the power switch of like, all right, hold on, I'm brave enough to see it this time. I'm brave enough to see Kev get bit this time, or
That's a
like
terrifying game, Mike.
being like I played Metal Gear Solid 1 when I probably definitely shouldn't have, because that was like back in
Ooh.
1999. Yeah,
Dude, like
1999.
5 years old at that point.
Dude, it was baby
I
Palm.
actually got really into being a little more worldly, like at a young age, and I like it kind of opened my idea to like, hey, nuclear proliferation is actually very important to the world, and we probably shouldn't be trying to kill each other.
So you
But I was
became
saying that shit from
you became
single-digit age.
you became the smug asshole kid is what you're saying.
Well, all right, that's what leads me to Persona being a very important
I
part of me
need
growing up as well.
I want Persona. I want it.
But
Give me.
Persona is one of my like by far like favorite series. Period. Like the fact that it's a lot of people. The fact that I started with 3. I should probably note that it was an overarching story about the world kind of. Is it bad to give spoilers for like almost a 20-year-old
Persona
game?
Go
three.
ahead,
Give,
go
give
ahead.
out spoilers. If anyone watching this and will watch this in future and is like, how could you spoil Persona 3? They can shove it up their ass. This game's years old.
I want it.
Alright,
Planning on playing
so-
a 4 and 5 though, so don't spoil this.
Well, if you're gonna play like those games, that I'll just skip over it. It's not a big deal. But yes, Persona 3 and 4 were really important to me, just like in the way that you see how you affect the world around you and the people around you in significant ways and cause them to grow by being around them. And for me, that always was very important because that kind of it illustrates, I mean, even in real life, that the amount of an effect you can have on others just by being positive or by being negative, you know,
Yeah, that
it
explains a
really
lot
adds
about you
weight and
actually.
value to your decisions.
From what I've heard about the Persona games, that a lot of it comes down to the story and how you interact with other people will heavily affect the game itself, as well as like for example, what else is going on in the world? Like I remember like reading things about Persona 5 and how like if like people having allergies that would affect the monsters you would fight. It's like insane to me.
Yeah, they really kind of went all out for like Persona 5 when it comes to like a lot of the niche details.
As well as the palaces you raid.
Oh, something really cool about the palaces too. Now that you brought it up, was in Persona 5, if you they have a different remix of each palace's theme depending on which part of or how many days you have left until you need to catch the culprit. So if you're there on the last day and you don't just skip right to the very end to the boss, which I think a lot of people did, just because when you clear out everything, you might be like me, who just tries to get it all done in one day, so that when you come back, you just gotta beat the boss. You'll miss out on hearing those remix themes that they're such fucking bangers. The Persona series' music and soundtracks in general are just so. You could put any of them up on a playlist and be like, all right, well, this is my day. I'll catch you later.
I've done that before. Oliver showed me the Persona 4 soundtrack, and I couldn't stop listening to it. And then from that, I got the Persona 5 soundtrack, which I couldn't
Yeah.
also stop listening to.
Dude, Rivers in the Desert, man.
One of my favorites, honestly, was Breaking In to Break Out. That was a good one to me.
Break
But I could
down,
also
break
pace
down,
music. Breaking
break
In,
down, break down.
not a JoJo reference, damn it!
And that's how we end it. Killer Queen bites the dust.
Wait, I do want to say one more thing, just in regards to, because this is a funny thing on my mom and her relationship with games and fiction media as a whole. She hates fiction media, 100%. Despises
Why?
it. If it's not
Really?
based on a story of real life, she doesn't like it. Because she considers it a waste of time. She's like, there's already so much going on in the world. Why would you need fiction? And I disagree with that entirely, because the point of fiction is to use it to explore the real world.
I
Like
mean,
the entirety of sci-fi based heavily around, when we get shit like Star Trek and stuff, was the whole point was exploring real world issues and doing things that were controversial through the safety net of sci-fi.
Well, not only that, it's just like exploring ideas that we possibly might have for the future in general, like whether it's
Yeah.
like technology or culturally, you know?
or they
or to
can be
take.
used as just,
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. Say yours.
or they can be used as just semi pieces of propaganda, like literally a lot of things George Orwell made were basically his viewpoints on everything.
Yeah, that's actually something akin to what I was going to say, where it's more akin to, taking issues that we have in the real world and sort of making a thought piece for us to think about in our daily lives. For example, like Gojira.
Or it could just be, you just sit down, want to have a nice, cold, relaxing day and just have fun.
Yeah, just watch Steven Seagal fucking kick a guy into a mountain. That's fucking entertaining as shit.
But the reason I want to bring that up is because my mom hated games. She hated that I play games. She doesn't like it. She's accepted it at this point that it's a part of my life and my personality and everything. But I want to mention this because this was the kicker. So, in like my last year or two of high school, when I was going through the IB, the International Baccalaureate, like she took away my gaming laptop, which sucked, because like that means like I constantly always wanted to get a PC to be able to play PC games with my friends, because a lot of my friends did have PCs, and I wanted to play with them. And then so she took it away for the first year, and then I got it back for the summer or whatever, and I got to play with it, and I was like, I'm keeping this. This is mine. It's going to stay in my room. And she was super angry with about that. And then at one point she like uh said like, if I keep this gaming laptop in my room, I am going to fail the IB. I will not be able to concentrate on it because I'm an addict or whatever, and I won't be able to pass. Not only did I pass the IB, I passed it with the highest marks of anyone in my family. So that was two other people, my sister and my brother. Um, and then when I said that, I was like, not only did I passed the highest marks of our entire family. She said, but you probably could have gotten higher if you didn't have the computer in your room. And I was like, God damn it, woman.
Reminds me of the
Thanks,
story.
Mom.
Thanks, Mom. Very epic. Reminds me of the story of when the Y finals were up, and it was because last year, because quarantine and shit, my exams got canceled, but we just had to do a project on the side. I had to do I did Mars exploration because I was given to me. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna do this then.
Big red.
The mm.
Red meatball in sky.
Oh, yeah, spicy. It's a tap.
It's very sandy.
Thank you.
I remember my mom and dad came into my room one day, and I was just playing Darkest Dungeon. I over. I'm like, oh, hello. And they're like, son, why the fuck are you playing the game? You should fucking study. I'm like, I've already done all the work I needed to. And then I passed. I passed that exam. I passed that exam with flying colors. I passed the project.
I think that's more of an alien situation to me because my parents, whenever they noticed that I was playing a game a lot, they were like, "Hey, maybe you should take a break." And I was like, "Yeah, but it's really good." Did you do everything? Yeah. Sometimes I wasn't always being truthful, but I wanted to
I
say
feel
I wanted to say what they wanted to hear, and they were like, "Okay, just
I
I
respect
come out for
that.
dinner, please."
I mean, what happened is that oftentimes, if what my parents would do is that they would burst into my fucking room, start screaming at me until
Like
I
Shrek.
stopped what I was doing. Like not like Shrek. No, Shrek's still at least a funny guy. They weren't funny when they screamed at me, but they would burst through my room. They're screeching at me. It's like, have you done your fucking work? It's like, I have. It's like, you're a fucking failure. It's like, here's the fucking work right here. And it's like, it's not enough. Do more. It's like, bruh. I one time failed because they forced me to do more work, and I did 300 more words than they asked me to, and then I failed, and they blame me. It's
Why
like,
they
bruh,
fail? Well, why did it fail you? Because it was over
because
the
I was
limit.
yeah, it was over the limit, and it's like
Wait,
they didn't read more than that, meaning my thesis wasn't completed, so they couldn't grade it,
did
so
you
I failed it.
did you explain to them that you already hit the word limit?
I did, and they're like, you could do more. It's like, what the fuck?
The point of the word limit is that if you go over it, they won't read
I
it, and
told them
thus
that,
you're
and they're
gonna
like,
fail.
it's not good enough. It's like,
That's
I'm
not how
again
that
trying.
works.
They're boomers.
Why is it
One of
every
them
time I
literally
hear
60
more
years
about your
old.
family, I'm absolutely like astounded that they have any success in life? It doesn't make any
It's
sense.
it's
They don't
even
sound
it's
like
Uh,
even
any
it's
kind
even
of
more
reasonable.
it's even more stunning that you're such a calm and collected individual who never gets
You
upset,
do,
whoa,
who
hold
never
on. I've
who
heard you
never
bro.
play Darkest
who
Dungeon.
never
Calm and collected is not.
who never gets upset whenever they make a tiny mistake.
When I make mistakes, when people make mistakes around me, the only time I'll ever get mad is when they don't tell me rules when I'm playing a game, and they tell me afterwards, after I already losing. It's like, you motherfucker.
Oh yeah, like
That's the
you.
only time I'll get
No.
like me
We
and
tried.
Rush Girl at.
We tried to explain to you the fucking rules. We tried.
No. I didn't hear the rules at first. So when I got shot, I'm like, fuck, you telling me this now? I just
Okay.
got pissed.
Well,
Okay.
we did try a little bit in the beginning, but there's like multiple people trying to tell you the rules, so like
And
I
I was
guess it
trying,
kind of
and
got
I was
lost in
trying to figure out the rules
miscommunication.
too, so it was complicated.
But
Boomer moment.
Yeah.
yeah, I feel like in comparison to a lot of you, I had it pretty easy.
I mean,
Like,
it's because you
Yeah,
also are
Mr. fucking Palm with his easy video games. I get to skip class to play Metal Gear 4.
well,
How did you pass that grade? That's the question.
bro,
No, I had it easy.
like my
He
senior
bullied
year,
he bullied the
like
nerdy
I
kid to give him
missed 40
answers.
days of class and I still passed, and I almost like I was in the top 10% of my class.
Yeah,
My family
that's
started.
because you bullied Larry the nerdy kid.
No,
Listen,
I was the nerdy kid, but the
I
thing is, I just it's very hard to explain who I was in high school. It's very hard.
Okay,
It's just there was
what
a
were
certain
you? Were
point in
you the
senior year.
sociable, quiet, cool guy, or were you the nerd? You fucking pick one.
I was both.
same here. I was
Because like the first arc of me being in high school was a continuation of my arc from middle school, which was I'm playing way too much World of Warcraft for me to be really fucking around with other
I'm
shit.
playing too
And
Ew,
much
meanwhile, I
ew,
was living in
women,
like
ew.
you
I was
women.
living like a side life of like, all right, well, I'm gonna be skating. All right, well, I'm gonna be 420 Blades. Okay, I'm gonna just be out every night and doing whatever. But then I'll still be in time. I'll be home in time for raiding. But
I'll be home. I'll be home in time to
guys,
do my World
I'm
of
gonna be
Warcraft
taking
raid.
it. I promise.
I'm just.
I'll be home.
I want you guys to picture this, and then we'll start to head off. I'm
Yeah.
just picturing Palm out on the town. He's like, going with his boys. They're making fun of some old dude. They've kicked a cow or some shit. Just hanging out with the boys, maybe smoking some weed. And then Palm looks down at his wristwatch. he has a single bead of sweat go down his forehead as he shoves his best friend to the sidewalk and he starts running as fast as he can until he gets home. He bursts through his own window, glass everywhere, and then he hurriedly gets on the computer, logs into his World of Warcraft account, and he's just like, "Am I late?"
Yeah,
100%, 100%. It's just like, all right, guys, we're ready to raid, right? As I just wipe the sweat and just drenched my
Just
shirt in sweat,
moist.
and I'm like, ugh.
Your
Are we guys?
your
And
shirt
then he just like calmly say, you just calmly say, "Are we ready?"
your shirt was
Alright.
pure white, but now it is a light gray.
It's a light gray from running, just a dash. Oh
Guys,
God.
guys, I'm ready to take
All
Beth.
right,
I
all right,
promise. All right.
all
I
right.
have to go. I have other things I have to do today.
I'm gonna
Okay, okay,
stream.
okay. Then we'll head off. And first off, I just want to say thank you for listening into the podcast. Woo.
Thank you
I
guys.
hope
Thank you.
everybody enjoyed themselves. I hope you guys enjoyed yourselves talking. You know, I had a fun
Wait,
time.
let's do a small curtain call. This has been me, Palm Top Tyrant. Catch me at Twitch/Palm Top Tyrant sometime. It'll be good times.
Yeah. Uh,
This is Kai.
This is Kaiju. You can follow my DeviantArt at DeviantArt/KaijuDragon567. New. I had to make a different account because fuck you, DeviantArt. And you can check my Twitter at twitter.com/KaijuDragon567.
This has been Historical Man. And I've hope you had a good time. And
Can find him nowhere.
I don't have any. You'll just find me around. You'll just find me around. I'm not linking anything. Fuck
In-
that.
In the
He's
void.
lurking.
I'll link something eventually.
And
Just not now.
Crossstar, who's his oh sorry, I should probably let Cross say that.
Yeah. Sorry, I got distracted because my friend walked by my fucking house and I'm trying to get his attention. And I'm Crossstar, mightiest hero of the universe. You can cop my Twitter. I caught my YouTube. It's on the banner link. Cross Cave. I'll upload videos there when I want to.
All
When
right.
you want to.
And
So
tune in next time if we ever do one again, hopefully, but see you later, boys.
hopefully it's gonna be next Sunday.
Adios.
Bye.